Now I would like to invite to the stage. We are starting the we are starting this session on the leadership. Actually, us as the leaders of the 21st century, how can we develop ourselves to then inspire all the others? And it's another my favorite speaker, Martin Roll, an INSEAD alumnus, whom I would like to invite on this stage. We actually started this conference 2 years ago in November 2016 with Martin. So Martin is one of the founders of this event, so please help me to welcome Martin on the stage.
Thank you, Katja, and you are indeed my favorite organizer. You have come a very good way. I know Katja and her team have worked very, very hard to kick this off, so congratulations to you and your team. Fantastic job. We're going to talk about leadership, and I think we live in times where we have a plethora of stuff coming in our face. We talk about AI, everyone talks about omnichannel, that was a couple of years ago, customer experiences, all of that. And if you do all of that, that's going to be the holy grail for the success of your business. I think we need to go beyond that. So what is leadership that is fit for purpose, not only in luxury, but also in any industry? What is it all about? What is the formula? We live in a world, and you will see a couple of slides here for the next 15 minutes. You will get a PDF, so don't worry about it. But there's so much happening in the world. Technology shift, geopolitics. Retail is changing. Consumers want a lot of stuff. They want to be involved. They want to be engaged. They want to buy your brand. They may not want to buy your brand. What am I going to do about it? So if you're sitting in the corner office and you're hitting a luxury brand, or you're hitting any other brand for that matter, what are you going to do? There's so many requirements. There's so many things that are coming in the face of the CEO. So how are you going to deal with that? So you're definitely going to have a horizontal outlook. You're going to look internally. You're going to change, you're going to be agile, you're going to do a lot of stuff. I'm very often asked by a lot of my clients, Martin, how do we deal with that? What am I supposed to do? And I said, I think you need, as a leader, yes, you're going to do the AI, you're going to get the customer experience right, and we kind of never get it right fully, but you're going to work on all that stuff, but you're going to work on 6 different leadership traits, which I think is going to change what your business is going to be all about. I think John Kotter had said it quite right. Management is about complexity, but leadership is when you dare as a leader to lift yourself above the day-to-day operations. And I'm not saying you as a leader are not going to be on the shop floor, because you surely are going to be in the retail stores and meeting the customers and all of that, but somehow we need to dare to be just a step above. So I think there's 6 things, if you were the CEO, that I would like you to focus on. First of all, get your purpose and your strategy right. We live in an age where almost like if you have all the big data right, some of you might be in data analytics, we have a plethora of data. We have so much information. But is it really is it on that basis that we're going to build a company? Miguel talked about Apple. Steve Jobs did not believe in market research. He never did any market research. A friend of mine used to run Apple in Asia. She met Steve Jobs on several occasions. He was terrified. Because if Steve Jobs had known that she actually ran and she spent a couple of millions of dollars on research, he would have fired her. You cannot look into the past in order to determine what's good for the future. So what are you all about? What's your story? And this is where you're going to think about your purpose. I've just given you a couple of questions here. Who are you? What makes you different? Why do you matter? You think you are an insanely great company. Have you asked your customers for a start? Have you looked at the retail stores? Have you looked at competitors? Have you studied other industries? What are you really all about? If Apple disappeared tomorrow, will the world be different? I think it would for a while. There will be another smartphone, another technology brand would come that way. Think about Lego, the toy brand for kids. Many brands that are very iconic. A lot of iconic brands in luxury. What if they disappeared? A lot of people would be disappointed. Because once you get the purpose right, it is much easier for you to execute. So first of all, get that right. Think about Jim Thompson. By far not the biggest company in the world. It's a very, very interesting company which is founded back in 1949. Jim Thompson fought during the World War II. Supposedly he was a former CIA agent, the OSC, during the wars in Asia. And he settled in Thailand and fell in love with the cottage industry, founded Jim Thompson in 1949, and became very, very iconic. 1967, he disappeared in the jungle in Malaysia, Cameron Highlands. He went out for a cigarette, and he never returned. And they never recovered his body. He became very iconic. He were iconic already, but when he disappeared, his fame just skyrocketed. So what characterizes a brand like Tim Thompson, which is at best a premium brand, is that they're very, very authentic. They are Thai, and we do not find many Thai brands these days, at least on the global stage. They are deeply rooted in artisan, deeply rooted in handicraft, the local weavers, particularly in northern Thailand, plus the storytelling and the myth about a young Crown Princess Elizabeth that wore all the dresses in the 50s, and I can go on and on and on. So the search for authenticity as part of your purpose, as part of your strategy, is paramount. And I think Michael Porter have said it pretty well. This is not about trying to get into a new business unit. This is not about opening up new retail stores. I think we are at a time where you're going to focus on what you're very, very good at. I normally draw an hourglass with my clients. And the hourglass is characterized by being very broad in the beginning, but you're going to narrow that. Because once you have narrowed who you are, much easier to execute. But the common mistake for a lot of leaders, a lot of CEOs, is that they try to take on too much on their plate. This is the toughest, because you're going to explain to your board that you're not going to go in and sell to men, that you're not going to expand in Americas, that you're not going to get into that new product line, you're not going to do that technology. That's the hardest. But if you do that, I believe you're in a much better position to do that. So first of all, get purpose and strategy right. Then you need to make sure you have a long-term lens. And why do I say that? I say it because there are so many forces in modern business that want you to perform tomorrow, or rather today. I guess the Paris Exchange have just opened an hour ago, and we just want to perform today. We live in a very short-term world. The attention span is very shallow. It's very instant, 24/7 real time. But I think the good brands win because they're very long-term. And that is not about doing a lot of stuff. I think a lot of the firms, try to look at the legendary family firms, there are a lot of studies that have come out. They do simple stuff, which is complicated over time to get right. But they survive for generations. Try to look at this company. Needless to say, 6, 7 generation has been around forever, still doing very well. So much other people want to take it over, but they don't want to sell. Rightly so, good decision. But you see how iconic they have become by being, I guess, one of the most simple operations in the world. They could have expanded, and this company could have been 30-fold much bigger. But they decided to have a very long-term lens, and I think that has served them very well. Third point, you need to be agile. I'm not talking about being stuck in the past, lack of innovation. Of course, you're going to be on the beat. Chanel said it very right. Of course, you're going to be relevant. And you're going to dare to go into your customer experience and your AI and look at your technology and look at your processes, look at your people, and to do that. So, of course, you're going to have your ears to the ground. Think about Lindsay Owen Jones that served L'Oréal for a century, I guess, built the modern L'Oréal and retired some years back. He spent 2 to 3 working days, 2 to 3 working days every week, visiting customers, hair salons, dressers, stylists, all over the world. Why? Because he wanted to make sure that L'Oréal stayed agile and adapted, which they surely did. And you're going to have resilience, because it might not work in the first place. And people are going to question you. Your board is going to question you. The new millennials are going to question you. Your stakeholders. Everyone is going to ask you, nah, you're quite sure about that. So you're going to have resilience. And here I talk about character. Who are you as a CEO? What's your character? Fall 7 times, maybe it's going to work for you. But nobody's going to help you, because they're all going to laugh about you. They're all going to criticize you. They're all going to think about that you don't get it right. And this is very hard in very shallow times where the attention span is almost 0, to tell the stock market, to tell the board, to tell the family owner, because 70% of businesses worldwide are more or less family-owned, that this is not going to work for the next 3 years. This has a 5-year horizon. That's normally a very bad story, but that's where you're going to be resilient. That's about character, your character as a leader. And then you're going to build your networks. What is that all about? That's about not necessarily getting people to follow you. I know a lot of things, a lot of research have talked about we need to build followers, which I think is right. But I think Tom Peters put it much better. You're going to create leaders. Why is that? That is because you cannot be in the office every day. So what's going to happen when you're not there? Think about the 3 first levels here. Remember your first job, straight out of INSEAD. Took on the corner office, have run for the last 20 years as a chairman. First of all, you ask to know what to do. Later, you knew how you did it, and then you knew why you did it. That's fine. This is how you were recruited in the first place. This is what you're meant to do. This is where you get your bonus. But that's not enough. You're going to make sure that people in your organization become CareWise. A CareWise is a person that goes out of the way, and you may not even have told her what to do. Here's a story. I went to China. I go to China very often. I was on one of my trips. I was in China for a week, which can be a bit of an exhausting, dirty experience. And I returned back on a Friday evening on the last Singapore Airlines to Singapore, to one of my bases. I live in Singapore and in Copenhagen. And they allow me to board before time. And I never travel in a suit. I love to travel in jeans and T-shirt, and I look like a backpacker. And I stand at the gate. They know me. I have very high ranking, but I look like nobody. I said, Mr. Roll, just go on board. Have a safe flight, enjoy, have a glass of wine. And I walked into the airplane. For security reasons, cabin crew would normally be there to greet you. There were no one. They were refueling, and they were taking on all the food and the beverages and all that. So technically, I were not allowed to board. You're not allowed to board passengers when you are refueling. Now, I'll tell you one little thing here. Insurance doesn't cover. Anyway, I walked into the aircraft, and there was nobody. So I walked towards 14 kilo, my seat at the window, prefer to sit at the window, and suddenly one of the stewards emerged from the pantry. And he said, "Good evening, Mr. Roll, welcome to Singapore Airlines." I was like, well, how would he know who I were? Why would he know that? And in a split second, because he had his arms full of newspapers, he put those newspapers in front of me. "Welcome back, Mr. Roll." That's a CareWise. Why? Because I checked with the airline. I know Singapore Airlines very well. I have checked their training facilities and the SOPs. None of the cabin crew had been asked to write "Welcome back, Miss Lim," on Singapore Airlines. Why did he do that? He did it because he's a CareWise. That's what you want your people to do. Build your networks. And I think Tom Peters were right. That's a leader. This is not a follower. That's a leader. And finally, you're going to look at culture. Culture is this animal that we all want to get right, which can be very complicated to work with, because as we all know that, quoted over and over again, it's often eaten for breakfast. Great quote by Peter Drucker. McKinsey have put it, because you might think, yeah, this cultural thing and this human resource and all that, because kind of culture is often parked in the group HR department. Look at the function, right? It's often taken care of by HR. It's not. Culture is a strategic issue. It belongs to the corner suite, it belongs to the chairman, the CEO, and it belongs to all of us. And if you do it right, it correlates with performance. It's very difficult to copy. It's difficult to copy the steward on Singapore Airlines. You can hire him, but you cannot copy that. Because if you tell the exact same story to the cabin crew on Thai Airways or Air France, you're failing, because that's not what you are. So you can't do it that way. Plus, it enables you to adapt. And look at here, this is McKinsey study. They have asked 3 million individuals across thousands of organizations. It does pay back on the bottom line. Some years back, a young girl, let's call her Camille, walked into the office, or rather the women fashion department of Zara. Mr. Ortega, one of the richest guys in the world, does not have an office. He just loves fashion. So he's sitting in the middle of a 400 designers department. So she walked up to him on a late night. She just entered Inditex, 18 years old. Remember that? 18 years old, when you had your first job. And she dared to walk over to Mr. Ortega and said, "Mr. Ortega, I got an idea. Come over, Camille, welcome to my company. Let's talk." It was 11 o'clock at night. "I got this idea, why don't we sell home furnishing?" I said, "Camille, that's a great idea. Come back in the morning, let's discuss. She came back in the morning, she had prepared 200 PowerPoints. Mr. Ortega do not like PowerPoints. And he said, I thought about it, Camille, let's do it. And she was thrilled. Imagine, you had just served a great idea to one of the richest guys in the world. And the next question she said is like, can I work with the team? Can I be part of it? And Mr. Ortega looked at her. No, Camille, you're gonna run it. Now we are 10 years out. This is a $2.3 billion business. And Camille, now close to 30 years old, is still running it. That's culture. Think about your own culture. Do you allow young people like a Camille, pierced in the nose, completely out of a different generation, know nothing about your industry, supposedly, came up with a brilliant idea? So yes, we're gonna operate very fast in luxury, in any industry, but I think one of the intricacies of this industry is that we're also gonna allow ourselves in these times to be slow. And you're gonna do both at the same time. And I think this is very unique to luxury. Yes, you're gonna adapt. But if you look at my principles, it's a very fine balance not to run after the latest fad, the latest technology, the latest thing that other people have done. Because you're gonna kind of breathe, stay grounded, and ask yourself, what am I all about? The best quote I've seen here, this guy is turning 50 next week. He turned Lego around. And he didn't turn Lego around, his organization did, because his point were, I do nothing as a leader. This is all my organization. So think about it, 6 traits. Good luck with your business, and enjoy the forum. Thank you.
Martin. Thank you very much, Martin, for this wonderful presentation.